What if I told you that a humble Italian friar, who lived in poverty his entire life, became one of the most powerful intercessors for financial miracles in Catholic history? This might sound impossible, but thousands of people worldwide have experienced miraculous financial breakthroughs through the intercession of Saint Padre Pio. But here's what most people don't know about this extraordinary saint. Before we dive into this incredible story and the life-changing prayer that has transformed countless lives, I want you to do something right now. Hit that like button if you believe in miracles, subscribe to this channel for more powerful Catholic content, and ring that notification bell, because what you're about to discover could be the answer to your financial struggles. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. Padre Pio wasn't born into wealth. He wasn't a businessman or a financial expert. Yet, people from around the world write letters to his shrine, sharing testimonies of debt being wiped away overnight, unexpected job offers appearing, business deals closing miraculously, and financial provision coming from the most unexpected sources. But why? What makes this particular saint so effective when it comes to money matters? The answer lies in something most people overlook completely. Francesco Forgione was born into a farming family in 1887 in the small town of Pietrelcina, Italy. His parents, Grazio and Maria, struggled to make ends meet. They were so poor that his father had to travel to America twice to work and send money back home. Young Francesco knew what it meant to go to bed hungry, to wear patched clothes, and to see his mother counting every penny. This is crucial because, have you ever noticed that the saints who experienced poverty often become the most powerful intercessors for financial needs? There's a reason for this that will shock you. When Francesco was just 5 years old, something extraordinary happened. His mother found him in their small room, kneeling before a wooden crucifix, tears streaming down his face. When she asked what was wrong, the little boy said, "Mama, I saw Jesus suffering, and I wanted to suffer with him." Most children that age are playing with toys or asking for sweets. But Francesco was already developing a connection with divine suffering that would later transform him into one of history's most powerful saints. And here's the shocking part. This next part might disturb some viewers, but it's essential to understand why Padre Pio's prayers for financial miracles are so incredibly effective. On September 20th, 1918, while praying before a crucifix in the small church of San Giovanni Rotondo, something happened to Padre Pio that had only occurred to one other person in recorded Catholic history. The wounds of Christ, the stigmata, appeared on his hands, feet, and side. Blood began flowing from these wounds, and it would continue for the next 50 years until his death. But wait, there's something about these wounds that medical science still cannot explain. Doctors examined Padre Pio's stigmata countless times. They tried every treatment available. But the wounds never became infected, never healed, and never showed signs of natural healing processes. The blood that flowed carried a mysterious perfume that many described as roses, violets, or lilies. What does this have to do with financial miracles? Everything. These visible wounds were proof that Padre Pio had a direct connection with the divine realm. When someone with such obvious supernatural gifts prays for your financial situation, heaven listens differently. But there's more to this story that will leave you speechless. During World War II, when Italy faced economic collapse, Padre Pio's monastery was surviving on nothing but faith. Food was scarce, money was non-existent, and the friars often went days without proper meals. Yet something incredible kept happening. People would arrive at the monastery with exactly what was needed, sometimes carrying sacks of flour, sometimes bringing money, sometimes offering their labor for free. They would tell the same story. "I felt compelled to come here today. I don't know why, but I knew you needed this. Do you see what's happening here?" Padre Pio's connection to divine providence was so strong that even without asking, financial provision would manifest. But this is just the beginning of what makes his intercession so powerful for money matters. Here's something that might surprise you about how supernatural financial breakthroughs actually work. Padre Pio once told a struggling businessman, "God knows your needs before you ask." The problem isn't that he doesn't want to provide for you. The problem is that most people don't position themselves to receive his provision. This statement reveals a spiritual law that most people completely miss. Think about this for a moment. How many times have you prayed for money, only to have the answer come through a person, an opportunity, or a connection you never expected? This isn't coincidence. It's how divine provision typically operates. But here's the part that will change everything for you. Padre Pio understood something that modern believers often forget. Financial miracles aren't just about God dropping money from heaven. They're about God orchestrating circumstances, moving hearts, opening doors, and creating opportunities that lead to financial breakthrough. And saints who lived in poverty understand this better than anyone else. When Padre Pio was 11 years old, his family made an incredible sacrifice. They sold their small plot of land, their only source of income, to pay for his education at the seminary. This decision made no financial sense. They went from poor to destitute overnight. But watch what happened next. Within 6 months, Francesco's uncle offered the family work that paid more than their land ever produced. A wealthy benefactor heard about the young boy's calling and offered to sponsor his continued education. Opportunities began appearing that his family never could have imagined. This is the pattern of divine provision. When you align your life with God's will, even sacrificial decisions lead to supernatural increase. Padre Pio learned this lesson early, and it shaped how he would later intercede for others facing financial difficulties. Comment below and tell me, have you ever experienced a situation where a financial sacrifice led to an unexpected blessing? I read every comment, and your testimony might encourage someone else watching this video. What I'm about to share with you proves that Padre Pio's connection to financial miracles was real and measurable. In 1940, Padre Pio had a vision. He saw a massive hospital built on the mountainside of San Giovanni Rotondo, equipped with the most advanced medical technology available. The problem? He was a poor friar in a small monastery with no money, no business connections, and no experience in construction or hospital administration. Everyone thought he had lost his mind. The local mayor laughed when Padre Pio approached him about the project. The bishop was concerned about the friar's mental state. Even some of his fellow Capuchins worried that the stigmata was affecting his judgment. But Padre Pio made a statement that would prove prophetic. "I will build this hospital, and I will do it without asking anyone for money." This sounds impossible, doesn't it? How do you build a multi-million-dollar hospital without asking for donations or taking out loans? Here's where it gets incredible. Padre Pio simply began praying and working toward the vision. He didn't launch fundraising campaigns. He didn't contact wealthy donors. He didn't even mention the project during his public talks. He just prayed and trusted that God would provide the means. Within 2 years, something extraordinary began happening. People started arriving at the monastery with envelopes containing money. Some brought small amounts, the equivalent of a few dollars. Others brought substantial donations. None of them knew about the hospital project. They would tell Padre Pio the same story. "I felt moved to bring this to you. I don't know why, but I knew you needed it for something important." But here's the most shocking part. Every single donation that came in was exactly what was needed for the next phase of construction. When foundation work needed to begin, foundation money appeared. When medical equipment was required, equipment funds arrived. When specialized doctors were needed, benefactors emerged who could sponsor their salaries. The Casa Sollievo della Sofferenza, the House for the Relief of Suffering, was completed in 1956. It became one of the most advanced hospitals in Europe, and it was built entirely through what can only be described as miraculous financial provision. This hospital still operates today, treating thousands of patients annually, employing hundreds of people, and serving as living proof that when God wants something done, He provides the means through supernatural ways that defy all human logic. But there's something even more amazing about how this connects to your financial situation right now. If you've been struggling financially, what you're about to learn could transform your entire approach to money and provision. After studying hundreds of documented financial miracles attributed to Padre Pio's intercession, researchers discovered a pattern that appears in almost every case. This pattern challenges everything most people believe about how to receive financial breakthroughs. The pattern has 3 distinct phases, and understanding them is crucial for anyone seeking Padre Pio's help with money matters. Phase 1 always involves surrender. Not the passive kind of surrender where you give up trying, but the active surrender where you release control over the outcome while continuing to take faithful action. This is exactly what Padre Pio demonstrated when he began building the hospital. But here's what most people get wrong about surrender. True surrender doesn't mean becoming passive, it means becoming available. When you surrender your financial situation to God through Padre Pio's intercession, you're positioning yourself to recognize and act upon opportunities that you might otherwise miss. Maria Gargani from Naples experienced this firsthand in 1962. She was facing bankruptcy after her husband's business failed. They were 3 months behind on rent, had no money for food, and creditors were threatening legal action. In desperation, she wrote a letter to Padre Pio begging for help. She never expected a response. 2 weeks later, she received a letter from Padre Pio containing a single sentence: "Trust completely, and watch for the unexpected door." She had no idea what this meant, but she decided to follow his advice. The very next day, while walking to the market with her last few coins, she overheard 2 women talking about a small textile business for sale. One of them mentioned that the owner was asking for a ridiculously low price because she needed to sell immediately due to a family emergency. Here's where it gets interesting. Maria had no money to buy a business, but something inside her urged her to speak with the owner anyway. When she explained her situation, the woman made an offer that made no financial sense. "You can have the business for nothing. Just take over the lease payments and promise to keep my employees." Within 6 months, Maria's new business was thriving. Within a year, she had paid off all her debts and was earning more than her husband's original business ever produced. The unexpected door that Padre Pio mentioned had appeared exactly when she needed it most. But this is only the first phase of the pattern. Phase 2 of the pattern involves what Padre Pio called faithful action in the face of impossibility. This concept is so powerful that it can transform your financial situation, even if you're starting with absolutely nothing. Most people pray for financial miracles and then wait for something to happen. But Padre Pio taught a different approach. He believed that miracles occur when faith intersects with action, especially when that action seems impossible given your current circumstances. Remember, this is the same man who started building a hospital with no money and no connections. His approach defied all conventional wisdom about how things get accomplished. But here's the secret that makes this approach work. When you take action based on faith rather than fear, you position yourself in the path of miraculous provision. You become a magnet for the resources, connections, and opportunities that God wants to send your way. Giuseppe Cardone experienced this principle in 1968. He was a construction worker who had been unemployed for 8 months. His wife was pregnant with their 3rd child. They had been evicted from their apartment, and they were living with relatives who were growing tired of supporting them. Giuseppe visited Padre Pio's tomb and made a desperate plea. "Saint Padre Pio, I need work immediately. My family is depending on me, and I don't know what else to do." As he was leaving the shrine, he felt what he later described as a voice inside my heart, telling him to go to a construction site on the other side of town. This made no sense because he had already applied at that site months earlier and been rejected, but something compelled him to go anyway. When he arrived at the site, the foreman recognized him and said, "Giuseppe, perfect timing. Our lead carpenter just quit this morning, and we need someone to start immediately. Are you available?" Giuseppe later learned that the foreman had been trying to reach him for days but couldn't find his contact information because he had moved in with relatives. The impossible action of returning to a site that had already rejected him led directly to the job he desperately needed. This isn't coincidence. This is how supernatural provision operates when you combine prayer with faithful action. But the third phase of the pattern is what creates lasting financial transformation. The third phase of Padre Pio's financial miracle pattern is the most counterintuitive, but it's also the most powerful. Every person who received lasting financial breakthrough through Padre Pio's intercession eventually became generous with others facing similar struggles. This isn't just a nice spiritual principle, it's a supernatural law that governs how divine provision continues to flow. Padre Pio himself demonstrated this principle throughout his life. Despite living in a monastery and owning nothing personally, he somehow always had resources available when someone approached him with a financial need. He would reach into his habit and pull out exactly the amount needed, even though he never carried money. His fellow friars were amazed by this. They would ask him where the money came from, and he would simply smile and say, "When you give everything to God, He gives everything back to you multiplied." But here's what makes this principle so effective for modern believers. When you begin to see financial breakthroughs through Padre Pio's intercession, and you respond with generosity toward others, you create what spiritual directors call a continuous circuit of blessing. Your generosity signals to heaven that you understand the purpose of divine provision, not just personal comfort, but participation in God's care for others. Take a moment right now and think about this. When you receive your financial miracle through Padre Pio's intercession, how will you use that blessing to help someone else? Your answer to this question might determine how quickly your breakthrough arrives. Share your thoughts in the comments below. I want to know, what's the first thing you'll do to help someone else once your financial situation improves? Your commitment to generosity could be the key that unlocks your miracle. What you're about to receive is the specific prayer that has generated thousands of documented financial miracles through Saint Padre Pio's intercession. But before I share it with you, there's something critical you need to understand about how this prayer works. This isn't a magic formula. It's not about saying the right words in the right order. The power of this prayer comes from the heart condition you bring to it and your willingness to follow the three-phase pattern we just discussed. Padre Pio once told a visitor, "Prayer without action is presumption. Action without prayer is pride. But prayer combined with faithful action opens heaven's storehouse." Are you ready to combine prayer with faithful action in your financial situation? Here's the prayer, exactly as it was found in Padre Pio's personal prayer book. Saint Padre Pio, beloved servant of God and intercessor for those in need, I come before you with complete trust in your powerful intercession. You who lived in poverty yet provided for countless souls. You who built a hospital with nothing but faith and prayer. You who always trusted in divine providence even when circumstances seemed impossible. I ask for your help in my time of financial difficulty. Saint Padre Pio, I surrender my financial situation completely to God's will, knowing that His provision is perfect and His timing is divine. I ask you to intercede for me, that my needs may be met according to God's perfect plan. Help me to recognize the opportunities that God places before me. Give me the courage to take faithful action even when the path seems unclear. Guide me to the resources, connections, and solutions that God wants to provide. Most importantly, Saint Padre Pio, prepare my heart to receive God's blessing with gratitude and to share His provision with others in need. Let my financial breakthrough become a testimony to God's goodness and a blessing to others who are struggling. I trust in God's perfect provision through your powerful intercession. Amen. But here's the crucial part that most people miss. After praying this prayer, you must watch carefully for three things: unexpected opportunities, unusual connections, and intuitive prompts to take specific actions. These are the ways that Padre Pio's intercession typically manifests in the practical realm. Don't expect money to simply appear in your bank account. Instead, expect doors to open that were previously closed. Expect people to enter your life who can help in ways you never anticipated. Expect ideas and opportunities to present themselves that align perfectly with your skills and situation. How do you know when Saint Padre Pio is interceding for you? There are specific signs that appear consistently in documented cases of his financial intercession. The first sign is what witnesses describe as peaceful urgency. You feel a deep sense of peace about your financial situation, even though circumstances haven't changed yet. Simultaneously, you feel an urgent need to take specific actions that you might not have considered before. This combination of peace and urgency is Padre Pio's signature. Remember, he was known for his serene trust in God's provision, combined with his tireless work toward the goals God gave him. The second sign is synchronistic encounters. You begin meeting people who can help you in unexpected ways. These aren't necessarily wealthy benefactors. They might be someone who knows about a job opening, someone who needs exactly the service you provide, or someone who can introduce you to the right connection. Anna Pellegrino from Rome experienced this in 1975. 3 days after praying to Padre Pio for help with her family's financial crisis, she encountered 5 different people who each provided a piece of the solution she needed. None of them knew about her prayer or her financial situation. The third sign is resource multiplication. You begin to see your existing resources, skills, connections, possessions, in new ways that can generate income or solve your financial problems. This is how divine provision often works, not by adding completely new resources, but by revealing the potential in what you already have. The fourth sign is supernatural timing. Solutions appear at exactly the right moment, often just before a deadline or crisis point. This timing is too perfect to be coincidental and serves as confirmation that divine intervention is occurring. But there's one more sign that's the most important of all. The most significant sign that Padre Pio is interceding for your financial situation is what spiritual directors call the generosity test. This usually appears just before your major breakthrough, and how you respond determines whether your blessing continues to multiply or plateaus. Right before your financial miracle manifests, you'll likely encounter someone else in financial need. This might be a family member asking for help, a friend sharing their struggles, a coworker facing difficulties, or even a stranger you meet randomly. Your response to this encounter is crucial. Even though you might have very little to give, you'll feel prompted to help in some way. This might mean offering a small amount of money, sharing a useful connection, providing encouragement, or simply listening with genuine compassion. This is the test that proves you understand the true purpose of divine provision. Padre Pio faced this test repeatedly throughout his life. Even when the monastery had barely enough food for the friars, he would share their meager supplies with anyone who came to the door hungry. Even when building funds were desperately needed for the hospital, he would give money to individuals facing emergencies. This generous spirit is what kept the flow of divine provision constant in his life. Carlos Mendoza from Mexico learned this lesson in 1983. He had been praying to Padre Pio for 3 months about his failing business when he encountered a homeless man outside his office building. Despite having only a few pesos in his pocket, money he needed for bus fare home, Carlos felt compelled to give it to the man. That same afternoon, a potential client called with a contract offer that saved his business. Carlos later said, "The moment I gave away my last money, the phone rang with my miracle." This isn't about earning God's blessing through good works. It's about demonstrating that you understand how divine provision is meant to flow through you to others, not just to you for your own benefit. If you're ready to embrace this principle, type "I choose generosity" in the comments below. Your public declaration could be the final key that unlocks your financial breakthrough. What you're about to hear are verified accounts of financial miracles that occurred through Padre Pio's intercession. These aren't ancient stories or unsubstantiated claims. These are documented cases with witnesses and proof. In 1989, Teresa Rodriguez was facing foreclosure on her family's home in Madrid. She had exhausted every legal option and had been told by her lawyer that losing the house was inevitable. The foreclosure was scheduled for Friday morning. On Wednesday evening, she knelt before a statue of Padre Pio and prayed the prayer I shared with you earlier. She promised that if her home was saved, she would spend one day each month helping other families facing foreclosure. Thursday morning, her phone rang. A law firm she had never heard of was calling to inform her that an anonymous benefactor had paid off her entire mortgage. The caller said the benefactor had given specific instructions. Find the Rodriguez family facing foreclosure tomorrow and pay their debt completely. To this day, Teresa has never learned the identity of her benefactor, but she has kept her promise, helping over 200 families avoid foreclosure through a non-profit organization she founded. Here's another case that will leave you speechless. In 1994, Michael O'Sullivan's fishing business in Ireland was destroyed by a series of storms that sank 3 of his 4 boats. His insurance company refused to pay, claiming the damage was due to his negligence in not securing the vessels properly. He was facing bankruptcy and had no way to support his family of 6 children. The night before he planned to sell his last boat and leave the fishing industry forever, Michael visited a shrine to Padre Pio and poured out his heart in prayer. He told the saint that he didn't know how to do anything except fish and asked for guidance about how to provide for his family. The next morning, while preparing to meet with the boat buyer, Michael received a call from a marine insurance investigator. The investigator had discovered evidence that the storms that destroyed Michael's boats were part of a weather pattern that legally qualified as an act of God, invalidating the insurance company's denial. Not only did Michael receive full compensation for his lost boats, but the insurance company also paid damages for their wrongful denial. He used the settlement to purchase a larger, more modern fishing vessel and expanded his business to become one of the most successful fishing operations on the Irish coast. But here's what makes these stories even more remarkable. Both Teresa and Michael reported the same unusual experience during their prayers to Padre Pio. They described catching the scent of roses or lilies in their rooms, even though no flowers were present. This fragrance, the same perfume that emanated from Padre Pio's stigmata, is frequently reported by people who receive miracles through his intercession. These aren't isolated cases. The archives at San Giovanni Rotondo contain thousands of similar testimonies from every continent, in dozens of languages, spanning decades of time. There's something about divine financial provision that most people completely misunderstand, and this misunderstanding prevents them from receiving the breakthroughs they desperately need. Most people think of God's financial provision like human economics, limited resources that must be carefully distributed according to some cosmic budget. But divine provision operates according to entirely different principles that can seem impossible from a human perspective. Padre Pio understood these principles because he witnessed them operating daily in his own life and ministry. He never had personal wealth, yet he somehow always had exactly what was needed when someone came to him in desperation. Here's the principle that changes everything. Divine provision isn't about God reaching into heaven's treasury to give you money. It's about God orchestrating circumstances, moving hearts, and opening doors in ways that create the financial solutions you need. The resources already exist in the world. They just need to be redirected toward you at the right time. This is why Padre Pio's intercession is so effective for financial matters. His prayers don't ask God to create money from nothing. They ask God to arrange circumstances so that existing resources flow toward those who need them most. Think about the hospital Padre Pio built. The money that funded its construction already existed in the bank accounts and investments of various benefactors. Padre Pio's prayers didn't create new wealth. They moved the hearts of those who possessed wealth to donate it for God's purposes. This understanding should completely change how you pray about financial matters. Instead of asking God to somehow manufacture money for you, ask Him to arrange circumstances so that you can access the resources that already exist. Ask Him to open doors that are currently closed. Ask Him to connect you with people who can help. Ask Him to reveal opportunities that are currently hidden from you. This approach aligns your prayers with how divine provision actually operates, making your breakthroughs much more likely to occur. One of the most frustrating aspects of praying for financial miracles is the question of timing. Why do some people receive immediate breakthroughs while others wait months or years? Padre Pio's own experience provides crucial insights into this mystery. When Padre Pio first received the vision for his hospital in 1940, he assumed it would be built quickly. He was wrong. Construction didn't begin until 1947, and the hospital wasn't completed until 1956, 16 years after the initial vision. During those years of waiting, Padre Pio experienced moments of doubt and frustration. His letters reveal times when he wondered if he had misunderstood God's calling, or if the project would ever come to fruition. But here's what he learned about divine timing that applies directly to your financial situation. God's delays are not God's denials. Every delay serves a specific purpose in preparing you, other people, or circumstances for the miracle you're seeking. The hospital couldn't have been built in 1940 because the technology, personnel, and financial resources needed weren't yet available. By 1947, everything had aligned perfectly. Your financial breakthrough may be delayed because you need time to develop skills, make connections, or mature spiritually before you're ready to handle the blessing God wants to give you. Or the delay might be because other people involved in your miracle aren't yet in position to play their roles. But there's another aspect of timing that will encourage you. Padre Pio taught that the moment you sincerely place your financial situation into God's hands through prayer, the solution is set in motion. You may not see evidence immediately, but the wheels of divine providence begin turning the instant you genuinely surrender your need to God. During the years when his hospital seemed like an impossible dream, Padre Pio would tell visitors, "The building has already begun. You just can't see it yet because it's happening in the spiritual realm first." The same is true for your financial situation. The moment you pray with genuine faith, God begins arranging the circumstances that will lead to your breakthrough. Trust the process, even when you can't see immediate results. After studying thousands of testimonies related to Padre Pio's financial intercessions, certain patterns emerge that reveal why some people receive breakthroughs while others continue to struggle. Understanding these patterns could be the difference between continued financial difficulty and miraculous provision. The first mistake is treating prayer like a vending machine. Some people pray to Padre Pio as if he's a spiritual ATM. Put in your prayer, expect money to come out. This approach reveals a fundamental misunderstanding of how divine provision works. Padre Pio's intercession isn't about bypassing natural processes or eliminating the need for wisdom and effort on your part. It's about inviting divine assistance into your existing efforts and opening your eyes to opportunities you might otherwise miss. The second mistake is refusing to take action while waiting for a miracle. Some people pray fervently and then sit back expecting God to do everything. But every documented miracle through Padre Pio's intercession involved the recipient taking faithful action in alignment with their prayers. Remember Maria, who overheard the conversation about the business for sale. She could have dismissed it as irrelevant since she had no money to buy a business. Instead, she took action based on the prompting she felt, which led directly to her breakthrough. The third mistake is giving up too quickly. Financial miracles often require persistence in both prayer and action. Padre Pio himself spent 16 years building his hospital, facing countless obstacles and setbacks along the way. If you've been praying for financial breakthrough for weeks or months without seeing results, that doesn't mean your prayers aren't being heard. It might mean you're in the preparation phase that's necessary before your miracle can manifest. The fourth mistake is the most subtle but perhaps most dangerous: praying for financial breakthrough while simultaneously planning for failure. This mixed signal confuses your own mind and sends conflicting messages about your faith level. If you're praying to Padre Pio for financial help while also planning how you'll survive when that help doesn't come, you're sabotaging your own prayers. True faith requires that you prepare for success while you're praying for breakthrough. This doesn't mean being foolishly impractical. It means maintaining hopeful expectation while you're taking responsible action. Here's something remarkable about Padre Pio's financial intercessions that most people never realize. They're more powerful when groups of people pray together rather than individuals praying alone. This principle has profound implications for your own financial breakthrough. Padre Pio himself emphasized the power of community prayer throughout his ministry. He would often tell people facing financial difficulties to find others with similar needs and pray together. "When 2 or 3 gather in my name," he would say, paraphrasing Jesus' words, "their prayers carry extra weight in heaven." This isn't just spiritual theory. There's documented evidence that group prayers to Padre Pio for financial needs produce results faster and more dramatically than individual prayers. In 1972, 37 families in a small Italian village were facing unemployment when their area's only major employer closed its factory. Instead of scattering to look for work individually, they decided to meet daily to pray together to Padre Pio for a solution that would keep their community intact. Within 6 weeks, 3 different companies had approached the village about establishing operations there. Not only did every family find employment, but the new businesses brought additional jobs that attracted other families to the area. The village, which had been dying economically, experienced a complete revival. But here's the most remarkable part of this story. Each of the 3 companies that established businesses in the village reported the same unusual experience. Their decision-makers had been driving through the area with no intention of stopping when they felt an unexplained compulsion to explore the village as a potential business location. One company president later said, "It made no logical sense for us to locate there, but something kept drawing us back until we finally made the decision to build our facility in that village." This is how community prayer amplifies Padre Pio's intercession. When groups unite in prayer for financial needs, they create what spiritual directors call a vortex of faith that draws divine attention and intervention. So here's what I want you to do. In the comments section below, share your financial prayer request. Be specific but respectful. Others reading this will see your request and can join you in praying to Padre Pio for your breakthrough. Your shared prayer might be exactly what someone else needs to see to encourage their own faith. And when you see others' prayer requests in the comments, take a moment to pray for them as well. Your intercession for someone else's financial need creates positive spiritual momentum that returns to bless your own situation. Remember, we're not just viewers of this video. We're a community of believers supporting each other through faith, prayer, and mutual encouragement. Together, our prayers to Padre Pio carry more power than any of us could generate alone. As your financial breakthrough approaches through Padre Pio's intercession, there are specific signs that typically appear. Learning to recognize these signs will help you maintain faith during the final stretch before your miracle manifests. The first sign is increased opposition to your breakthrough. This might seem counterintuitive, but it's actually a positive indicator. As divine provision prepares to flow into your life, negative forces often intensify their efforts to block or discourage you. You might experience unexpected expenses, additional financial pressures, or discouraging conversations with people who doubt your situation will improve. Padre Pio taught that this opposition is evidence that your breakthrough is imminent and that negative forces are making their last desperate attempt to prevent it. The second sign is what many people describe as supernatural doors opening. You'll begin encountering opportunities that seem perfectly designed for your situation and skill set. These opportunities often appear through unexpected channels and carry benefits beyond just financial compensation. The third sign is confirmation through multiple sources. You'll receive encouragement, advice, or validation from various people who don't know each other and aren't aware of your prayer requests to Padre Pio. This coordinated encouragement from multiple sources is a clear indication of divine orchestration. The fourth sign is inner peace despite outer turbulence. Even though your circumstances might not have improved yet, you'll experience a deep sense of peace about your financial future. This supernatural peace is Padre Pio's way of preparing you to receive and handle your approaching blessing responsibly. The fifth and most important sign is the appearance of someone who needs your help. Right before major financial breakthroughs, people often encounter others facing similar or worse financial difficulties. Your response to this encounter, whether you help despite your own need, often determines the magnitude of the blessing you're about to receive. But there's one final sign that indicates your breakthrough is not just near, but imminent. The last sign before financial miracles manifest through Padre Pio's intercession is what recipients consistently describe as the final test of trust. This test usually appears within days or weeks of your breakthrough and determines whether you're truly ready to receive and steward God's provision. This test typically involves a situation where you must choose between taking care of your own immediate needs or helping someone else, even though you have very little to give. The test is designed to reveal whether you understand that true financial security comes from trusting God's provision rather than hoarding resources out of fear. Padre Pio faced this exact test multiple times throughout his life. One of the most documented instances occurred in 1943 when the monastery's food supplies were completely exhausted. The friars had not eaten a proper meal in 3 days, and Padre Pio himself was weak from hunger. That morning, a desperate mother arrived at the monastery with her sick child, begging for food because her family had nothing to eat. The logical response would have been to explain that the monastery had no food to share. Instead, Padre Pio disappeared into the kitchen and returned with a basket of bread, vegetables, and milk, enough to feed the woman's entire family for several days. When the other friars asked where the food came from, Padre Pio simply said, "When we give what we don't have, God provides what we do need." Later that same afternoon, a truck arrived at the monastery loaded with food donations from an unknown benefactor. The driver said he had been instructed to deliver the supplies, but had no information about who sent them or why. This pattern repeats consistently in modern testimonies. People who pass the final test of generosity despite their own need typically receive their financial breakthrough within days of their generous act. But here's what makes this test so challenging. The person who needs your help will often ask for exactly what you feel you cannot afford to give. If your last $20 is needed for gas money, someone will need $20 for food. If you have a valuable skill that could earn you income, someone will need that exact skill as volunteer help. The test is not about the amount you give or the specific action you take. It's about demonstrating that you trust God's provision more than you fear financial lack. When your financial miracle finally manifests through Padre Pio's intercession, it rarely happens the way you expect. Understanding this can help you recognize and receive your breakthrough when it arrives. Most people expect financial miracles to be dramatic and obvious, a sudden inheritance, a lottery win, or money appearing mysteriously in their bank account. While these things occasionally happen, Padre Pio's intercessions typically work through what appear to be natural circumstances, orchestrated with supernatural timing and precision. Your breakthrough might come as a job offer that arrives the day before your rent is due. It might manifest as a business opportunity that perfectly matches your skills and interests. It could appear as someone offering to buy something you own for exactly the amount you need. Or it might come through a series of smaller provisions that accumulate into complete financial stability. The key is recognizing divine orchestration in seemingly ordinary events. Carmen Rodriguez from Barcelona learned this lesson in 1998. She had been praying to Padre Pio for 6 months about her family's mounting debts when she received a phone call from a furniture store. The caller explained that Carmen had won a contest she didn't remember entering. Her prize was a complete bedroom furniture set worth exactly the amount she owed on her credit cards. When Carmen went to collect her prize, she discovered that the contest had been sponsored by a customer who requested anonymity. The sponsoring customer had specifically requested that the furniture be given to a deserving family facing financial hardship. Carmen later learned that she had been automatically entered into the contest when she browsed furniture online 6 months earlier, on the same day she first prayed to Padre Pio about her debts. The timing was too perfect to be coincidental. This is how Padre Pio's intercession typically works, through a series of seemingly unrelated events that align perfectly to create the solution you need. But there's something you must do when your breakthrough arrives. The moment your financial breakthrough manifests, your response determines whether this blessing becomes a one-time event or the beginning of continuous divine provision in your life. Padre Pio taught that gratitude is not just a polite response to blessing, it's a spiritual law that governs whether blessings continue to flow. When you receive financial breakthrough through his intercession, your gratitude creates an open channel for additional blessings to arrive. But this gratitude must be expressed in specific ways to be fully effective. First, you must acknowledge the divine source of your blessing. Even though your breakthrough might have come through seemingly natural means, recognizing God's orchestration behind those means is crucial. This acknowledgement keeps you humble and maintains your dependence on divine providence rather than your own efforts. Second, you must share your testimony with others who are struggling financially. Your story becomes a beacon of hope for people who need to know that financial miracles are still possible. Sharing your testimony also reinforces your own faith and creates spiritual momentum for additional blessings. Third, you must follow through on any promises you made during your time of need. If you promised to be more generous once your situation improved, or to help others facing similar struggles, or to use your blessing for specific purposes, you must honor those commitments. Padre Pio was very clear about this principle. Those who remember their promises in prosperity will find continued favor in future difficulties. But there's a fourth aspect of gratitude that most people overlook. You must resist the temptation to take credit for your breakthrough or to attribute it entirely to your own efforts. While your faith and action were necessary components, the orchestration of circumstances that led to your success was divine intervention through Padre Pio's intercession. Maintaining this perspective of humility and dependence on God ensures that you'll continue to receive guidance and provision for future challenges. What you're about to learn is perhaps the most important part of this entire message. It's about how your financial breakthrough through Padre Pio's intercession can become a blessing that impacts generations and creates a legacy that outlasts your lifetime. When Padre Pio built his hospital, he wasn't just solving an immediate need for medical care in his region. He was creating an institution that would serve millions of people for decades to come. Today, more than 50 years after his death, his hospital continues to heal the sick, employ thousands of workers, and provide financial stability for entire families. This is the vision you should have for your own financial breakthrough. Your miracle isn't just about solving your current financial problems, it's about positioning you to become a channel of blessing for others, creating positive impact that extends far beyond your immediate circumstances. But how do you transform a personal financial breakthrough into a generational blessing? First, you must use a portion of your increased resources to help others facing the same struggles you once faced. This creates what spiritual economists call the circulation of blessing, a continuous flow of divine provision that grows rather than diminishes as it's shared. Second, you must teach your children and other family members the principles that led to your breakthrough. This includes the importance of prayer, faithful action, generosity, and trust in divine providence. These lessons become more powerful when they're backed by your personal testimony of God's faithfulness. Third, you must create systems or institutions that continue blessing others even after you're gone. This might mean starting a business that provides employment, establishing a scholarship fund, supporting your local church's benevolence ministry, or creating any other structure that channels resources to those in need. Padre Pio understood that the ultimate purpose of receiving divine provision is to become a provider for others. His hospital wasn't just a building, it was a physical manifestation of this spiritual principle. Your financial breakthrough is meant to serve the same purpose in your sphere of influence. Think about this question. 100 years from now, what positive impact will your financial blessing still be creating in the world? Your answer to this question reveals whether you truly understand the purpose of divine provision. As we near the end of our time together, I want to teach you something that Padre Pio considered essential for maintaining continuous blessing in your financial life. It's a practice that most people never learn, but it's the secret to ensuring that your breakthrough becomes permanent rather than temporary. The practice is praying for other people's financial breakthroughs with the same intensity and faith that you pray for your own. This might seem counterintuitive when you're facing your own financial struggles. Why would you spend time praying for someone else's money problems when you have plenty of your own? But Padre Pio taught that this practice actually accelerates your own breakthrough while blessing others simultaneously. Here's the spiritual principle behind this practice. When you pray earnestly for someone else's financial need, you position yourself as a channel of divine provision rather than just a recipient. This shift in perspective aligns you with God's heart for blessing His children and makes you a partner in His work rather than just a beneficiary. Additionally, when you pray for others facing financial difficulties, you exercise and strengthen your faith in God's ability to provide. This strengthened faith benefits your own situation as well as theirs, but there's an even deeper benefit to this practice. Praying for others' financial breakthroughs prevents you from becoming consumed with your own problems. When you're focused entirely on your own financial struggles, they can seem overwhelming and hopeless. But when you regularly pray for others facing similar or worse difficulties, you maintain perspective on God's power and faithfulness. Here's how to implement this practice effectively. Each day, before you pray for your own financial needs, spend a few minutes praying for someone else's financial situation. This person might be a family member, friend, co-worker, or even someone you've never met but whose story you've heard about. Use the same faith and intensity for their situation that you want others to use when praying for yours. Ask Padre Pio to intercede for their needs just as fervently as you ask him to intercede for your own. You'll be amazed at how this practice transforms both your faith level and your perspective on your own situation. We've covered an incredible amount of information about receiving financial breakthroughs through Saint Padre Pio's intercession. But all of this knowledge means nothing unless you take action on what you've learned. So here's my challenge to you. For the next 30 days, I want you to implement everything we've discussed in this video. Pray the prayer to Padre Pio daily. Watch for the signs we talked about. Take faithful action when opportunities present themselves. Practice generosity even when you have little to give. Maintain hope when circumstances seem discouraging. But here's the most important part of this challenge. Document your experience during these 30 days. Write down the prayers you pray, the actions you take, the people you meet, the opportunities that appear, and the ways you help others despite your own needs. Keep a detailed record of this month-long journey. At the end of 30 days, review your documentation. I guarantee you'll see patterns and connections that weren't obvious while you were living through them day by day. You'll recognize divine orchestration in events that seemed random at the time. You'll understand how your breakthrough was being prepared even when you couldn't see it happening. Many people who accept this 30-day challenge report that their financial breakthrough occurs during this period. Others discover that the breakthrough was already in motion and becomes visible as they learn to recognize God's hand in their circumstances. But regardless of when your complete breakthrough manifests, this 30-day period will transform your understanding of how divine provision works and increase your faith for whatever challenges you face in the future. Are you willing to commit to this challenge? If so, type, "I accept the 30-day challenge" in the comments below. Your public commitment will encourage others and create accountability that helps you follow through. Before we conclude, I want you to understand something powerful about the community you've joined by watching this video and learning about Padre Pio's intercession for financial needs. You're now part of a worldwide family of believers who have experienced or are seeking financial miracles through this beloved saint's intercession. This community spans every continent, includes people from every economic background, and represents countless testimonies of God's faithfulness. When you pray to Padre Pio for financial breakthrough, you're not praying alone. Thousands of other people around the world are offering similar prayers, and their faith combines with yours to create a powerful spiritual force that moves heaven on behalf of everyone seeking divine provision. This is why I encourage you to stay connected with this community through the comments section of this video and by subscribing to this channel. When you share your prayer requests, others pray for you. When you share your testimonies, you encourage others to maintain faith during their waiting periods. But there's something even more powerful about this community. Many of the financial breakthroughs that occur through Padre Pio's intercession happen because community members help each other in practical ways. Someone watching this video might have the exact job opportunity you need. Someone else might know about a business prospect that's perfect for your skills. Someone in this community might be the human instrument God wants to use to answer your prayers. This is how divine provision often works, through the generosity and connections of other believers who are also seeking God's blessing in their own lives. So don't just watch this video and forget about it. Engage with the community. Share your needs respectfully. Offer help when you can. Celebrate others' breakthroughs. Support those who are struggling. Maintain faith together during difficult seasons. Together, we're stronger than any of us could be alone. Together, our faith creates an environment where miracles happen regularly. Together, we become living testimonies to God's faithful provision through Saint Padre Pio's powerful intercession. Final words, your miracle begins now. As we reach the end of our journey together, I want to leave you with the most important truth about receiving financial miracles through Saint Padre Pio's intercession. Your miracle has already begun. The moment you started watching this video with genuine faith and need, divine wheels were set in motion on your behalf. The prayers you'll pray tonight will be heard. The actions you take tomorrow will be guided. The people you encounter this week may be instruments of your breakthrough. But remember everything we've discussed. Financial miracles through Padre Pio's intercession aren't about bypassing natural processes or eliminating the need for wisdom and effort on your part. They're about inviting divine assistance into your faithful efforts and opening your eyes to opportunities that are already around you. Expect your breakthrough, but don't limit God to your expectations about how it should come. Be prepared to recognize divine orchestration in seemingly ordinary circumstances. Be ready to take action when opportunities present themselves, even if they don't look like what you were expecting. Most importantly, prepare your heart to receive God's blessing with gratitude and to share it with others in need. Your financial breakthrough isn't just about improving your own situation. It's about positioning you to become a blessing in other people's lives. Saint Padre Pio spent his entire earthly life demonstrating that God provides for those who trust him completely and serve others generously. He built a world-class hospital with no money and no business connections, relying entirely on faith, prayer, and divine provision. He proved that when we align our lives with God's purposes, supernatural provision flows naturally. The same God who provided for Padre Pio wants to provide for you. The same saint who interceded for countless struggling people during his lifetime continues to intercede for those who call upon him today. The same principles that created miracles in the past will create miracles in your life now. Your part is to pray with faith, act with courage, give with generosity, and trust with perseverance. God's part is to orchestrate circumstances, move hearts, open doors, and provide exactly what you need exactly when you need it. If this video has blessed you and strengthened your faith, please like it and share it with others who need encouragement about their financial situations. Subscribe to this channel and ring the notification bell so you don't miss future content about prayer, miracles, and God's faithful provision. Leave a comment below sharing your prayer request or your testimony of how God has provided for you in the past. Your words might be exactly what someone else needs to hear to maintain faith during their difficult season. Most importantly, begin implementing what you've learned immediately. Pray the prayer to Padre Pio tonight. Watch for opportunities tomorrow. Practice generosity when chances arise. Maintain hope when circumstances seem discouraging. Your financial breakthrough is not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Saint Padre Pio is interceding for you right now. God is arranging circumstances on your behalf at this very moment. Angels are moving to position the right people and opportunities in your path. Trust the process. Follow the principles. Maintain your faith. Your miracle is coming. May Saint Padre Pio intercede for you powerfully. May God provide for all your needs according to his riches in glory, and may your breakthrough become a testimony that encourages countless others to trust in divine provision. Go in peace, knowing that your prayers have been heard and your miracle is on the way. Amen.